Welcome, everyone, to this special interview edition of Monday Match Analysis. I'm Gill Gross, and on today's episode, we talk to Noah Eagle, who has been on the grounds at Roland Garros calling matches for Tennis Channel. A lot has been made of the unusual tournament that this is, with unusual conditions and unusual circumstances. So I thought, let's talk to someone in the bubble. Noah Eagle, very much in the bubble. Without further ado, here he is. We're joined for the first time by my good friend, Noah Eagle, who is very busy these next 2 weeks calling the matches for Tennis Channel, but he's taken some time to talk to me. Noah, thank you.
Gillen, it is a pleasure, first of all, to be on Monday Match Analysis. I've dreamed of this moment while I was still at Cuse with you. I did a full package about Monday Match Analysis. I've been very into it, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and it gives it away that you know me well because you use my full name.
Yes.
So that just signals to the audience that, you know, we go back a little bit.
Right. I'm like a concerned mother. That's really what I'm going for.
Right. All right. So you come to us from your Paris hotel, which I just want to get a sense of this. So you are in the bubble, but you know, there were some talks about, is Paris and Roland Garros, are they kind of lax? Is this going to be a problem with COVID cases compared to the U.S. Open, where if people were complaining, they were complaining about how strict it is? So,
Right.
what was the process? Do you feel that the bubble has, good integrity, or is it kind of a halfway deal?
I will say this, first and foremost, the process just to get to France was pretty arduous. So for me, at least through Tennis Channel, they took care of everything, luckily, because I would have had no idea what I was doing. I had to get them all my information well ahead of time. And once they had that information, they had to clear it through, I think, both the FFT and just the French government. So there were a number of organizations kind of working hand in hand here. And I had to get clearance just to get into the country. And I think the players from around the world, obviously, it's a little easier, I would assume, because if you're playing in the event and they take it very seriously here, as you know, you were here last year and you saw it firsthand how into it people are here. And even though there aren't a lot of fans, there are 1,000 fans that are allowed on the grounds per day. Even without the sheer numbers, like you can feel it kind of around the city. So with that being said, just that first step was somewhat arduous. When we got to the airport, there was a next step of just kind of getting past that area. So I had no issues, but with our travel group of Tennis Channel, a lot of us come from Los Angeles. So we were all on the same flight, and about half of us had issues of trying to get through and having the right documents. Like you had to print out 7 to 8 different documents to basically show, okay, you've gotten clearance to get into the country. So that was, I think, a good, at least first step. And we all had to get tested within 48 hours of leaving the States. So we all had to show a negative test. We had to print out that negative test. And then we had to test first thing getting here. I'm actually doing another test tomorrow. So about every 4 days or so, we're all getting tested. I think the players, it might even be more than that. I'm not exactly positive on the numbers of the testing, but what I've noticed is the players' bubble is a lot more strict than ours. And that's not to say that our bubble is like we've got free reign, but we're in a slightly different hotel in a similar location. The players, they're going back and forth, and that's it. For us, I've been able to at least take some walks around. Again, I'm getting tested anyway. So if I, for some reason, God forbid, and knock on wood, got it, like I'd be screwed and everyone around me. And so I don't want to be that person so I've been very careful. Everyone else has been super careful. And the players have really taken it seriously because they know what's at stake here. And especially for some of those lower ranked players who have gotten a great opportunity with people who have opted out or people that got bounced early. We've saw a couple of really cool stories already. So I think that the FFT and the French government have done an excellent job of managing what has been an interesting circumstance.
That's good to hear, and that all makes sense. I want to go back to that 1,000 fan number. That is such a strange number because tennis tournaments usually bring in, an insane number of people because you don't need to fit them all in one stadium. You have kind of this busy, normally very bustling, and in the case of the French, kind of packed in grounds. What do the grounds feel like with 1,000 fans let in?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. We keep getting emails every day that are basically saying attendance for today, 1,000 people. And then they tell us the attendance from that day last year, and it was somewhere like 35,000, 37,000. So it's just polar opposite, and it certainly takes a little something away, but the tennis is still tennis, and it's still great. And the fact that we're now through today, at least when we're doing this interview or this chat, we're through day 5. I believe that's correct, day 5. And there have already been 18 5-set matches. Like the level of play has been so great that it almost at times makes you forget that the ambiance isn't quite there. And especially when there are big names on Chatrier or Longland, or there are French players that are in action, the majority of the 1,000 fans are there, and they're still going to make some noise. Like, you can still hear them. There's no artificial noise being pumped in. And I'm sure even on TV, when you're watching at home, you can still get a sense of the fan noise there, but not quite the same level. And like I said, I think just around the city, people are still excited. Like when I've done walks around, because this is my first time in Paris in general, so I'm trying to at least just get a feel for the city and see some things. You still see Rafa's face plastered on walls, and you see little pop-up Roland Garros shops around the sidewalks and stuff. There's still an excitement here. And so I think that's been a good thing. But yeah, a completely different environment within the grounds. And I'm just at least speaking from my knowledge at US Opens of past years that I've been to, just completely different.
Yeah, there was a big RG logo even on the Eiffel Tower last year.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see how it kind of takes hold in the city. Question, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and head to the grounds. You're going to put a jacket on?
It's cold, man. Here's the thing. You knew me when I was at my like strongest weather. I felt good. I could experience everything. And when I moved to LA, everybody told me within a year that I was going to get soft. I was like, no. I did 4 years at Syracuse. I'm from northern New Jersey. I'm used to the snow. I'm built for that. No problem. And I was traveling around the country, still going to cold cities during the colder months during the NBA season. And then I got here after several months now in LA and getting comfortable there. And I'm soft. I'll admit it. I'm a soft weather guy. Like
Man, that didn't take long.
I know it gets to like high 50s, low 60s. And dude, I'm just all out. I'm like, I need to bundle up. I've got a wool hat I've worn all the time. So yeah, I'm going to need a jacket.
That's strange for tennis though, because the
Yes.
way they travel around the world, they basically, I mean, they're not snowbirds, but it's that kind of strategy in mind
Yeah.
where you're trying to get the hot months. And I guess it gives it a whole nother feel. And one thing that has been talked about a lot is the conditions, and not only the cold weather, but the change from Babolat balls to Wilson balls. What do you make of just that very heavy and slow conditions, and how do you think the players are taking to it?
I would say that different players are reacting differently, which is exactly what we would expect, right? Every player reacts to certain circumstances and little nuances within each match differently than the other one. For example, I thought the first day was probably the worst so far. You saw the rain, you saw the heavy winds, and Coco Gauff, who played on the first day, was one of the last matches on that day on Suzanne Longland. She handled it beautifully. And her father, Corey, told her going in, listen, you're living your dream. So go out and live your dream. And so she did that, and she made the best out of a bad situation. Same thing with the change of the balls. I thought Rafa had a great point going into the tournament where he said, look, is it a perfect situation? Am I happy about it? No. But it's what it is, and I'm going to have to deal with it. If I want to win another one of these things, I have to deal with it. And I think that's what a lot of the players, the mentality that they're adopting, especially as these rounds progress. Today was one of the better days that they've had. It was sunny most of the day. Temperatures were pretty calm, pretty mild. But I know I saw one of your tweets, and I thought that it was spot on, that for people who play this sport recreationally, who don't play professionally, like this is what we deal with, right?
Right.
This is what people have to figure out. Like, okay, how long can we stretch this out playing outside? Because it is so much more enjoyable when you're outside and you've got that feel of a real tennis match, or just even playing with a friend or whatever it might be. And I think these players, for the first time for many of them in years, are having to deal with that. So it's been an adjustment, and I think that it's been interesting to see who's been up for the challenge. We know who it favors and what type of style it favors, and that's why, especially on the men's side, it's so interesting, because can Rafa overcome some of those things that might go against him? The colder weather, if it does get damp again, that does not play to him. He's better if it's warmer. Novak Djokovic, and he's looked so far exactly what we would expect, has been dominant, because no matter what, he's going to go play his game. And I think that's probably the biggest storyline moving forward, especially as we've seen some of these higher seeds drop out. We're obviously monitoring the big three in this tournament, with Dominic Thiem being the third, and all three of them have looked great through the first two rounds. But as they progress, if the weather does not hold up, how will that impact those three in particular? And will it give Novak enough of an advantage to go out and claim it?
It almost works two ways with Novak, though, because you get the low bounce, which there's no argument that Novak loves that and Rafa hates that. But then a more, on a more nuanced note, it's slower. And that's where you do wonder if Novak is going to have trouble with that. So, I want your take. And also, I know that you've been talking to so many people on the grounds. What are the feelings right now about, in a French Open where I'd say this is the most I can remember people doubting Rafa Nadal's ability to win it?
100%. 100%. I think most of the analysts that I've been around came into the tournament still feeling like, look, it's Rafa, it's clay, it's Roland Garros. He's going to go out and he's going to be Rafa Nadal. He's going to be the king of clay. Through the first two rounds, I would say that people's perspectives have flipped a little bit, and they've got Novak leading the pack right now. I would say Dominic Thiem has stayed solid at 2, and the flip-flop is, at first it was more Rafa, Thiem, Novak, and it's become more of a Novak, Thiem, Rafa type of mentality. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Novak's going to go through and Rafa is not going to prevail on clay, but I can understand why they have that perspective, especially after watching what Novak has done in his first two matches. I mean, he's just been flat out dominant, and he's looked unbeatable, honestly, in my opinion. And Rafa, while he hasn't necessarily looked super beatable, I just feel like there were enough cracks. And you know me, I'm a big Rafa guy. I've always been a huge Rafa supporter, at least growing up, watching the game. I just feel like the way Novak's playing right now, he's at the peak of his powers, and he's doing it in the right time, in the right circumstances. And the other thing that might be and might shine through in a lot of what I'm hearing is, okay, this is the surface based on the conditions, not normally, but based on the conditions right now, that's going to favor those heavy hitters. So maybe what about a guy like Matteo Berrettini with a big forehand? Can he hit through the ball enough to make enough noise? And today he got through in 4 sets. I didn't see it enough that he's going to be consistent throughout, but like Andrei Rublev came in as one of the hottest players on tour. He has the second most wins this year behind Novak. He won again today. And after that first round, he's starting to kind of round back into form. Same thing with Stefanos Tsitsipas. Both of them, after getting a little bit of rest, they both hit the ball quite big. So does that play to their advantage based on the different balls and based on the colder temperatures and potentially the dampness on the court? Those are just, it's so interesting because it's never talked about at Roland Garros. And if I'm a betting man, like I always have this idea of, okay, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm always going to be betting Rafa until he proves me wrong. But there's a little bit more doubt, certainly more doubt this year that, okay, this would be the year if Novak's going to take the mantle from him, it would be this year. And so it'll be really interesting to see as the tournament continues to transpire. There were talks, John Wertheim, who's great, I know that he mentioned it a few times going into the tournament, that Simona Halep might be a bigger favorite than Rafa. Like, when could you ever say that? Yeah. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's making for a really interesting second week. And I'm glad that you will be there and you'll get to take it in, and we will be watching you on Tennis Channel. Normally when I have a guest, I plug their content, but I don't need to tell my viewers to watch tennis. No, that's not in the cards.
I would hope not. Yeah,
do you have anything else what is there to plug? Cause I'm not,
No, nothing to plug. Just this is it right now, man. This is the best. This is as good as it gets. Are you kidding me? I'm thrilled to be here. It's been awesome to see. It's been awesome to be a part of. Disappointing with some of the results, especially on the women's side, with Serena having to withdraw and Coco bowing out a little bit earlier than I would say, hoped for. But that men's side is really shaping up to have a couple of fun matches. And I'm interested to see, I would say my favorite storyline, and I'm probably saying this because I've been preparing for this match tomorrow, but Zverev, to see how he continues to bounce back after the U.S. Open. Like, he's looked solid. At least that first round he looked great. Second round he struggled a little bit towards the finish line against Pierre Hugerbert, but just can he keep up mentally in the way that he's done so far? And one of my new favorite players that we texted about, Martin Fucsovics, he's got to keep going. I love it. I love watching this dude play. He's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, there you have it. Thanks so much for coming on, Noah.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gill.